Without Roger Robinson unveiling this and talking about it and informing both Congress and the Washington policy community, this issue doesn't get exposed anywhere, anyhow. Roger, maybe could you talk to the fact that so much of this has occurred under the radar, and that's part of the problem. There's, most people who are watching this are going to think, aren't there grown-ups in Washington or at the SEC or the White House or the Treasury Department who are going to protect Americans from this? Why are they not doing their job? And why did you have to be the one to explain to Americans this amazing fact?
Well, that's a very generous depiction of my role. I'm not trying to be the issue here, believe me. But at the same time, there's a problem on skill mix. We're looking at the nexus of national security and global finance. It turns out that's a problem because the Wall Street luminaries view the national security community as sort of net disruptive. They're sanctions guys. They're contracting their investable universe. They're impeding the free flow of capital. They're trying to politicize the markets. They're not trying to facilitate a well-lubricated financial system. These guys are sort of gratuitous naysayers, ankle biters that lay awake at night trying to constrict their fees. May sound a bit harsh, but it may resonate with some of you. And the national security folks, God love them, they're patriots, they're trying to do the right thing, but generally speaking, their knowledge of the cap markets and global finance more broadly might be a millimeter deep. And they might have, received a briefing on it or something like that, but do they feel the confidence and depth to go out there on CNBC and take on these masters of the universe on Wall Street? I can tell you they don't, because they're worried about being depicted themselves as, quote, Neanderthals, unquote, or something as unflattering as that. So you don't have a lot of folks that come from Wall Street, as I had the privilege of doing. I certainly enjoyed my time there at Chase, but then move into, for the balance of my life, national security roles at senior levels. But the point is that skill mix permitted getting it in terms of the money, whether we're talking about defunding the Soviet Union and knowing where all those dollars were because we had to assess the creditworthiness. So we knew that they had no money. We knew that the Western governments and banks were financing the hard currency cost of the entire external Soviet empire, for example, at the time about 16 billion. So, in other words, then, once you get the Soviet code broken, you look at China, far more complex, but at the end of the day, here we are. It's about the money. Again, the flash, the shiny object, all of us concentrate on trade, not a peep over here, because that's where Beijing lives and dies. And so I would say, regrettably, that that's kind of our problem. And we need to train up, a whole new strata of professionals that get it, because this is 21st century national security. It's not kinetic. It's not, single-minded political military. It's a more sophisticated game, and China is eating our lunch. I mean, the index providers, okay, I know it's a little exotic, but this is common sense at the end of the day. I mean, my job, and what I'm trying to do, is to put this in layman's language of folks that are informed but uninitiated in all of this. So that's our common effort here. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.